Hello, BookTube. Well, it's that time again. It's book haul time. I believe this is book haul number 12 of 2017, and it's a nice uh, size thing here, considering that it's been chilly, cold rain all day. I just expect mail carriers not to come. There's no box, but there's quite a bit to look at. So let's get started. Let's see what we have here. What's this first one? Oh, good. Okay, I requested this. This is due in late March, and it is called 10 Miles One Way by Patrick Downes. I believe this is a debut novel. Yes, it is. This is a debut novel. Nest is a very special person. She has a chimera living inside her. Well, not a real mythical monster, although who is to say really what defines a monster? She is unconscious after a car accident, and the only person here to tell her story is Q. Told from a silent but potent perspective, Q recounts a long walk he took with Nest through the city. Nest speaks, and Q listens, not saying a word. Mile by mile, Nest tells Q about her life, her family, her past. Okay, so who is Patrick Downes when he's at home? Do we know anything about him? This is his debut novel. He was raised in New York City and now splits his time between Vermont and Toronto. He has a dual MFA from Vermont College of Fine Arts in fiction, and in fiction writing and in writing for children. 10 Miles One Way is his second novel. Okay, so this is not his debut novel. Thank you for considering this poignant young adult novel. Okay. So he was raised in New York City and splits his time now between Vermont and Toronto. Strong hipster vibe coming off there, though. But we'll give the book a try, and we'll see. We'll see. Plus, I think the latest findings from science indicate that hipsters are capable of writing fiction. That's good. I don't know. I have to see more data. But here we got one of these vacuum pressed cardboard things. Manhandle this open and see what's in here. I'll just tear it apart because envelope's not good enough. Let's see. Let's see what we have here. If We Were Villains by M.L. Ryu. This comes out in April. And Emily St. John Mandel, the author of Station 11, calls it a genuinely breathtaking literary thriller, which is a bad thing, right? Because if something's genuinely breathtaking, that means when you read it, you're going to need medical help. I think we know what she means. She can't help it that she thinks, blurbs, and also writes Station 11 in cliche buried prose. Now can she? Let's see here. So M.L. Rio is only 25 years old. And he's already, the publicist says he's already drawing comparisons to the literary great Donna Tartt. So I guess the publicist asked his mother. I've never compared him to Donna Tartt, and that's the only thing that matters, isn't it? Her debut, If We Were Villains, follows the tradition of The Secret History by spinning a taut literary thriller, but M.L. Rio brings a dramatic Shakespearean flair to a story that is all her own. We know that art imitates life, but what happens when life starts to imitate art? Well, that question is asked in The Secret History. And when it comes to Shakespeare's art, is there any chance that it isn't one of his tragedies? On the day Oliver Marks is released from jail, the man who put him there is waiting at the door. Detective Colburn wants to know the truth. After 10 years, Oliver is finally ready to tell it. 10 years ago, Oliver was one of 7 young actors at Delachesser Classical Conservatory. Wasn't the core cast of Secret History 7? A fiercely competitive school where the acting students only perform Shakespeare. Entering their 4th and final year, Oliver and his friends come to realize that they've always seemed to play the same roles on stage and off. Charming James is the hero, cunning Alexander the villain, fiery Meredith the temptress, sweet Ren the ingenue, and Richard, true to his name, the tyrant. Oliver and Philippa are always relegated to the roles of secondary characters in someone else's story. But when the casting changes, good-natured rivalries take a sinister turn, and real violence invades the students' world of make-believe. Suddenly, the fourth years find themselves facing their very own tragedy, and their greatest acting challenge yet, convincing the police and themselves that they are innocent. Okay, alright, well, this is due in mid-April. That sounds identical to The Secret History. Not just in the vein of, and not only, and not just how was it again? Her mother comparing her to Donna Tartt. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. You see the problems that we get into when we deal with the made-up stories. Perhaps the next book will be something set in World War II and not involving fiction. Let's give it a try, shall we? Let's see what this is. Well, okay, all right, not World War II, but not. This is due in May, and this is by Mike Rappaport, and it's called The Unruly City: Paris, London, and New York in the Age of Revolution. Okay, so in The Unruly City, historian Mike Rappaport offers a vivid history of three intertwined cities toward the end of the 18th century: Paris, London, and New York, all in the midst of a political chaos and revolution. From the British occupation of New York during the Revolutionary War to agitation for democracy in London to popular uprisings and regicide in Paris, Rappaport explores the relationship between city and revolution, asking why some cities engender upheaval and some suppress it. Why did Paris experience a devastating revolution while London avoided one? How did American independence ignite activism in cities across the Atlantic? Rappaport takes readers from the politically charged taverns and coffee houses of Fleet Street through the sea battles between British and France in New York Harbor to the scaffold during the terror in Paris. Interesting. He's a professor of history at the University of Glasgow. How did American independence ignite activism in cities across the Atlantic has a discrete answer. It's the Sons of Liberty, headquartered here in Boston and masterminded by Samuel Adams. If it hadn't been for that, New York would simply have fought with tax and levying officials and gone to court and sued and countersued. They would not have organized, they would not have drafted militias, they would not have revolted against the English crown. But the question, why did Paris experience a devastating revolution while London avoided one, is absolutely fascinating. I can't wait to read this author's take on that. I think the answer is very simple, which is that London didn't avoid one. But I'm always interested in people. People always do that. I always want to know, okay, France had the revolution and the terror and the king beheaded. What about London? And I just love that subject. Anytime an author wants to tackle that subject, I'm right there. So let's see this next one. This is a thin little thing. Non-fiction seldom comes in packages this small. So we may be going back to fiction. Let's see what this is. Oh no, it's poetry. It's Apocalypse Mix by Jane Satterfield, winner of the 2016 Autumn House Poetry Prize, but it's published by Autumn House. So it's like I don't know what that means. Wouldn't we consider that this book would be an automatic front runner for the poetry prize of its own publishing house? It's like taking your sister to the prom. Okay, well, it's a slim volume of poetry, so it comes out in February. But Open Letters, the literary journal, which I have the honor to be the managing editor, has a poetry person, and it isn't me. So I won't have to worry too much about that. And then we have this thing. This is also thin. I would certainly like a nice 1,000-page biography of the Duke of Wellington. But we'll see what this is. Okay. What's this? Very, very nice looking. it's a novel. It's called Glaxo. It has the French flaps. Very very nice looking thing. Um, Okay, well let's see. This is from Melville House. Set in a derelict town in the Argentine Pampa, Hernan Rosino's Glaxo is the English language debut of one of Latin America's most celebrated young writers. Okay, all right, you know the drill. Those of you who are in Latin America, is that true? Hernan Ronsino, Ronsino, is he? Those of you who are in Argentina. Do you know his name? Is he a celebrated young writer? I'd like to know that. I can check it on my own, but I'd much rather hear it from people on the ground. When the story opens, a decades-old betrayal simmers among a group of friends. Just like the drama school, the Shakespeare drama school novel. But I guess there are only so many plots, right? One returns from serving time for a crime he didn't commit. Okay, just like the Shakespeare drama school. Another is haunted by a beautiful woman called La Negra Miranda, his friend's former lover. A third, on his deathbed, mulls over a long-ago deal he cut with an officer of the ruling military regime. Spinning through a series of voices and timelines, the novel follows a group of boys who grow up breaking in horses and idealizing John Wayne, only to be drawn into illicit romances, government violence, and ultimately murder. Okay. All right, so this is called Glaxo. Hernan Ronsino was named one of the 25 best-kept secrets in Latin America. Certainly that secret was kept from me. By the Guadalajara International Book Fair. What I wouldn't give to go to the Guadalajara International Book Fair. Doesn't that sound like fun? Good Lord. He was born in Chivilcoy, a small town in Argentina's Pampas, and teaches at the University of Buenos Aires. Glaxo is his first book to be translated into English. Okay. First book to be translated into English. All right, so it came out in 2009. And that's all it tells me. I'm going to have to look him up. I see first book to be translated into English. The very first question I have is, well, how many books has he written? You know, since 2009. Is this a prolific author? This comes out yesterday. But it's tiny, so I'll read it tonight and see what I make of it. It certainly is a nice... Melville House made a nice little paperback of this. That's nice. So let's move on here. I don't know if you could see the camera. That's apropos of nothing, but I do have to say is one of my all-time favorite things is to just bury myself in books. Let's move on. What have we got here? This is from Picador. Oh, fantastic. Oh, great. All right, I requested this as well. This comes out as a hardcover in May. This is Aliens. It's subtitled The World's Leading Scientists on the Search for Extraterrestrial Life. This is edited by Jim Al-Khalili. And who is he? He's an Iraqi-born British theoretical physicist, author, and broadcaster. And the book is a collection of the latest ruminations on why the universe seems to be silent. On why, after a century of industrious looking, we have no indication at all that there is any other intelligent life anywhere in the universe. In a series of lively and fascinating essays, scientists from around the world weigh in on the latest advances in the search for intelligent life in the universe and discuss just what that might look like. This volume includes essays from a broad spectrum of scientific community, cosmologists, astrophysicists, NASA planetary scientists, and geneticists, discussing the latest research and theories. Okay. I love this sort of thing. So I will gobble it up. I'll gobble it up long before the deadline. But the books tend to come, of course, they come to the same answer. It's Drake's equation, it's the Fermi paradox, it's all these subjects that I love so much. It's where is everybody? Even in our local group of galaxies and planets, of systems and planets, in this arm of this part of the galaxy. Where is everybody? Where are even the signals? Where is any hint? It's a fascinating subject, especially since there's one answer that people who grew up with science fiction, and of course scientists themselves in all of those fields that were just mentioned, don't really want to confront. There's one possibility that nobody really wants to confront, and that possibility is that it's virtually impossible for self-regarding, manually dexterous, technologically advanced, intelligent life to develop on a planet. Virtually impossible. The possibility that nobody really wants to confront is, what if it's so unlikely that we're it, and there's no other life anywhere that is anywhere near us. I mean, and by anywhere near us, I mean even to the furthest, hundreds of thousands of light years, where the furthest extent where even our listening and seeing can look. If you study the development of complex, self-replicating, intelligent life on this planet, if you take a step back and you look at what you're seeing, you realize how many factors are aligned against it. You can scientists who especially scientists who have been confronted with creationism in any of its modern guises, any of its pernicious modern guises, are always quick to say, well, no, there have been many scientific, experiments. Certain basic building block chemicals of organic life form almost spontaneously. They start replicating almost spontaneously. It seems to be a very easy process. But that's just slime mold. That's smaller than that's single and multi. That's microscopic life. That's not a chimpanzee or an elephant or a human. That's not a creature who can evaluate his own standing and look at someone else standing, and even more, would have the manual dexterity and the ability to think forward, to project, to plan, in order to build technology that will work. It's possible that is almost impossible, that almost never happens, in which case, if that's true, then books like Aliens, the best possible solution that we can hope for, is that we live in a universe full of M-class Earth-like planets that are characterized by sludgy oceans full of slime. Living, self-replicating slime, but not even close to. I will read the book, and I will see what the latest thinking is. And then we have, the last thing we have this is the last... I'm not going to fight with it here. We'll just cut our way into it. This is the last package for today. The mailman Tom from Tipperary showed up in the pouring rain, and with a smile on his face and some small talk. Very nice. So what do we got here? What have we got here? Oh my! All right. Well, we end on a nice Steve note. Excellent. This comes out in late February. I did not know about this. This is The Great Leveler. Look at that. Violence and the History of Inequality from the Stone Age to the 21st Century. I did not request this, but I already know about this because this came out in the UK and I read a great review of it. I'm glad to get it. That's wonderful. I'm glad I didn't have to ask for it. Let's see here. This is an urgent contribution to the study of one of the defining challenges of the 21st century and perhaps all time. And then they give an excerpt from the book. I wonder why they do that instead of... Well, let's see. There has always been one big reason behind every known episode of substantial leveling. There was one big reason why John Rockefeller was an entire order of magnitude richer in real terms than his richest compatriots 1 and 2 generations later, why the Britain of Downton Abbey gave way to a society known for universal free healthcare and powerful labor unions, why in industrialized nations around the globe the gap between rich and poor was so much smaller in the third quarter of the 20th century than it has been at its beginning, and indeed why 100 generations earlier ancient Spartans and Athenians embraced ideals of equality and sought to put them into practice. Okay. Every single one of those is wrong. What on earth? Every single one of those why clauses is wrong. Factually wrong. And this is an excerpt from the book. This isn't a publicist misreading. Oh, okay. All right. This is bumping its way to the front of the reading list, that's for sure. Let's go on. There was one big reason why, by the 1950s, the Chinese village of Zhangzhuangkung had come to boast a perfectly egalitarian distribution of farmland. One big reason why the high and mighty of Lower Egypt's 3,000 years ago had to bury their dead with hand-me-downs or in shoddily manufactured coffins. Why the remnants of the Roman aristocracy lined up for handouts from the Pope, and the successors of Maya chiefs subsisted on the same diet as the hoi polloi. These big reasons were not all the same, but they shared one common root: massive and violent disruptions of the established order. Okay, I am genuinely confused now. Maybe this isn't the book I read a really good review of. Maybe it was just a similar subject. That paragraph is an excerpt from this book, and all of it is almost nonsense. The part about the Mayas, wrong. The part about the Roman aristocracy, wrong. The part about the high and mighty of Lower Egypt 3,000 years ago, wrong. Okay. Okay. The kiss of death here comes because in addition to that paragraph, there's also a blurb from Steven Pinker, whose Better Angels of Our Nature, as a book I've mentioned on this channel before, is 500 pages contending that not only has violence in the human race decreased over time, but that it's decreased because humans have gotten smarter over time, with the unspoken third assumption being that the smarter you are, the less violent you are. I read The Better Angels of Our Nature, the book in which he makes that claim, with my jaw open the whole time. And there's a blurb from him. And the blurb is, if you think you've heard it all about economic inequality, think again. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, well, now I want to read this more than anything, so I will put the Great Leveler at the top of the list. This I will read tonight and report back. So we have the Great Leveler. We have, let's see here, If We Were Villains. We have the Unruly City, three cities in the grip of upheaval. We have Aliens. We have Glaxo by Hernan Ronzino, about whom I would like to hear from the rest of you. We have Apocalypse Mix, a slim volume of poetry, and we have 10 Miles One Way, a novel by Patrick Downs. So that is today's mail haul, and I am going to dig in right now. So I will see you shortly, BookTube. Thank you.